Welcome to the Ben and Walker Movie Show. I'm your co host, Ben Davis, joined by my other co host, Walker Holt, and we're excited to have a conversation with you about one of our favorite things in the world movies and eye injuries. If this is your first time being here with us, welcome. We're so glad to have you. And while you're here, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all the latest content that we have for you guys. And if you enjoy your time with us today, leave us a like, share us around, and of course, comment down below with your thoughts on today's show. Let us know how we're doing. This is our weekly show called What We're Watching, where we discuss, what we've been seeing to let you guys know if it's a must see it, a go see it, a rent it, or a skip it. Now that I got that down out of the way, you guys must be wondering, why is there no video this week? Well, the answer to that is I disparaged the TV show Bluey, and my daughter did not care for that, so she took out my eye. Um, I've learnt my lesson, and I will no longer disparage the show Bluey. But no, in all seriousness, love the show Bluey, incredible TV show. But no, I was playing with Zoe, and freak accident happened. She stuck her finger in my eye and just scratched the crap out of it. And it has been a giant pain in my butt for the last like 3 days. Um, and it not only has been a giant pain in my butt, it also looks really bad. So, uh, even though it's feeling better today. So that's why we're not doing video. Also, because my eyes are very sensitive right now. So, probably could not be staring at a computer screen with all the light shining on my face for too long, but no need to worry. I is going to be okay probably by next week. So there will be video back and look forward to that. But now that I got that down out of the way, Walker, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Gives me chills every time you're talking about your eye. um,
Yeah, you
I get
saw it before. It's covered up right now with glasses, but
yeah, I get pretty
yeah.
bad empathy pains where I start to like be really uncomfortable with other people in pain. Hate to hear that. My weekend's been good. It's been a lot of cleaning. Been a slow movie week. We're coming off the heels of Dune. I haven't gotten to re-see it yet, but I do want to soon. And going into Oscar tonight. So there's not too much on the docket here. So I think we'll be able to get you back to resting your eye pretty soon here. Thanks for joining us or joining me.
Of
Thanks
course,
for
man.
getting on. But nothing really exciting. Just been a lot of cleaning this week. Heading to New York in a week or two and kind of making those plans right now.
Got any big plans while you're in New York? What you're gonna
Yeah,
do? Any touristy things?
yeah. I mean, we're gonna see Lion King on Broadway. Um, we're going to Madison Square Garden. We're gonna see Jimmy Eat World and Fall Out Boy.
Oh,
Um,
that'll be fun.
yeah, I've
Love
never.
Jimmy Eat World. Oh, I
Yeah,
like Fall Out Boy too, but
yeah,
Jimmy Eat World is
yeah. Jess loves them
great.
too, and I like them too. They were big when I was younger. I I've never been to Madison Square Garden. I'm pretty excited about that, and I'm a big Broadway guy, so I'm excited about The Lion King too. Um, so we're gonna go to a nice um, steakhouse on Sunday night or the Sunday we're there. An old place called Keen's. Have you heard of that? I don't know. It's in a
I've
bunch of TV
no,
shows, and it's I don't know. It's supposed to be good. Other than that, I think we're gonna have
I've
pizza about
never.
7 times.
Oh yeah, I see. I've never been to New York.
Oh, really?
I've driven through it. Like I've
Mm,
driven through Buffalo to get to Toronto.
mm,
But that's about it.
gotcha. Yeah, we're excited. We're excited. It's gonna be a
That's
nice
awesome, man.
long weekend. At the end of the
I hope you
month.
guys have a wonderful time while you're there.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Get all the pizza your heart desires because I love New York style pizza. I prefer it to Chicago style. Chicago is pretty much just lasagna.
Yeah, they're both good, but New York, I think I'm pretty excited. I mean, a couple of places I've already been, but I've got a list of places I want to try that I haven't been to.
Nice,
Right.
nice.
I'll
You'll
report
you'll
back.
have to let me know how it is. Yeah,
Well,
report back to us. Before we get into the stuff that we've been watching, is there anything off the top that you want to discuss, pop culture wise, that's been on your heart?
yeah, I'll be quick. I'm thinking Bradley Cooper might just be going off the deep end. I think he's become.
Why?
I love Bradley Cooper. I think he's a great actor. I think he's a great director. I think he's very handsome. I think he's got a lot going on. I mean, he's awesome. I've always been a big fan. I mean, it's just like every single day something new comes out about him. A new video where he likes walking around his house in the nude in front of his children, and everybody he's like, "I know, I'm plenty comfortable with it." It's like, well, are they? And the other day he put out a and he's just doing weirder and weirder shit every day. And then the other day, a new video came out. He's with first of all, he's talking about Leonard Bernstein, and he's like, um, he did this whole interview where he says like, honestly, I didn't even act in the movie. Leonard Bernstein just kind of came out through me, and I just took a back seat. And honestly, it just was Leonard Bernstein. It's like, okay, that's weird. What's even weirder is he sat down with Bernstein's kids the other day. He's never met the man. He sat down with Bernstein's kids the other day in tears about how much he missed Leonard Bernstein in front of them. Like they aren't crying, and he's just in tears on the couch. Like, you don't understand. We had something really special. It's like, Bradley Cooper, you're becoming a freak, dude. You need to chill out.
Well, maybe he's just reached his breaking point because the guy's been nominated for like 12 Oscars and has never won, and it's just the pressure's getting to him.
I'm a big fan of his work. I just think, and I've been a big fan of him. I just think this week I've been like, what's with this dude? Like, why is he so nuts?
Well, maybe he's reaching his breaking point. I don't know. I don't keep up enough with that stuff, so I just don't know. So all of what you're telling me, like I've heard, like I hoped Leonard Bernstein came into me. I've seen that headline a couple times. I think I sent it to you, and I was like, oh, that's kind of off-putting. But I haven't heard any of the stuff you're telling me now, so it's like, oh god.
I mean, there's a video of him sitting with the Bernstein's children. I don't know if it's Bernstein or Bernstein, so I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. But if he's sitting with his children in a room, and they're asking him like what he meant to him, and he just breaks down in tears about how special their father was to him. He's never met him, and it's their father. He said he's just the only one in the room who can't hold it together, and it's just odd. It's and this is just it's not one thing, it's all the things.
Well, hopefully he comes back around and comes back to us. Hopefully that's what happens. But it is Oscar season. Celebrities sometimes have a tendency to go a little crazy around this time. A lot of pressure on a lot of people. And pressure can do a lot of things. But the only thing I have to discuss that's off the top is The Accountant 2, Walker. Have you seen the original The Accountant?
Yeah, I saw it like when it was newly released on DVD or whatever, whatever it was.
Okay.
Once.
All right, so The Accountant was one of my favorite films of 2016. Like I absolutely loved that movie, and it was a modest box office success, but it was a big hit on VOD as well as streaming. And over the years, there's been a lot of talk about them coming back and doing a second one, because the way the first one leaves off, it's like, okay, they can absolutely make this a series. Well, it's official. The Accountant 2 has Ben Affleck, John Bernthal, and J.K. Simmons returning, with Gavin O'Connor also set to return behind the camera. However, it is moving from Warner Brothers to MGM/Amazon, with it being planned as a streaming exclusive. It's unfortunate that it's going to be a streaming exclusive. I wish this were coming out in theaters, but this is movies like this typically do incredibly well on streaming, like the first one did incredibly well on streaming. It's not an incredibly expensive movie to make, I don't imagine. But this excites me because I really love that first one. Gavin O'Connor is a very underrated filmmaker. Look at sports movies like Miracle, The Way Back, Warrior. Warrior is my favorite sports film ever made. And then you look at something like this, The Accountant, which is I thought was awesome. I thought it was great. It was one of my favorite films of 2016. I think it was in my top 10 of that year, maybe even top like 6 or 7 or something like that. But um, Gavin O'Connor has also led Ben Affleck to two of his best performances, whether it was the Accountant, the first one, which I thought Ben Affleck was great in, or The Way Back, which is something that I thought he should have gotten an Oscar nomination for back in 2020. But that was a tough year too. You had Anthony Hopkins from The Father, and then you also had Chadwick Boseman from Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Hmm.
So that was a tough year. But Ben Affleck was incredible in The Way Back. But does this excite you as much as it excites me? Were you?
I
I
would,
know you said you watched the first one, but
yeah, I don't think it would excite me as much as it excites you, but I like the first one. I need to rewatch it. I mean, I just hadn't seen it in a while. I remember enjoying it, and it definitely seems like a fun movie. I agree that I always am team theaters, but um, this is one that I think I'd like to just pop on one night. You know what I mean? And maybe not make
yeah,
a special trip, but maybe I need to rewatch it. Maybe I'd like it more this time. There's nothing. I have no ill will or negative thoughts about it. I just don't remember it blowing me away. But I think I enjoyed it. I think it's definitely a good movie to watch with like. I think I watched it with my 4 roommates at the time, and it was kind of fun to watch.
yeah. Well, it also like it's an interesting lead because he's an action hero that's on the spectrum.
Right.
You don't really get that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, not often. Oh, should be good.
Do what?
I said no. You don't.
What'd you say? Yeah, I didn't. Sorry, I didn't. You cut out, so I didn't hear you. But yeah, I think that's interesting. But should be good. I'm excited. But let's get into what we're watching, man. What have you been watching?
Very light week. Very light week. Some of the stuff's going to be even kind of off the normal path, but I am catching up on a few things that I like to watch a lot. Figured I'll talk about them a little bit. Very similar in nature to each other too. I watched the F1 docu-series Drive to Survive on Netflix. The new season 6 dropped. I don't know if you're an F1 fan or any of the listeners are. I was not an F1 fan, couldn't care less. Did hear about this docu-series and heard it was awesome and it'll make you like it, and they were exactly right. It's a great docu-series. It introduces you to the sport, it introduces you to the I was going to say the characters, the athletes and the team principal owners and or team principals and the owners and the different logistics that go into pit crew stops and racing and stuff. And F1's very flashy. It's very like high money, overseas, European, really cool races like Monaco that go through the city streets when they're racing and they go 200 miles an hour. It's a lot cooler than I thought it was. I'd love to go to a race. I've never been like a NASCAR guy or anything like that. This was just fun.
Is it better than the Stallone classic Drive?
I don't think I've seen Drive.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
But I've seen Rush, and Rush has kind of
yeah, Rush is a great movie.
Yeah. It was good. It's very good. It holds up. This new season's good. If you're fans, I know there's a big twist in the off season here with Lewis Hamilton, who's one of the best ever to do it, and especially in recent times. And he's made a move from Mercedes over to Ferrari, which is a pretty shocking move. But it's good. It's exciting. And then on the same note, the other thing I watched is Breakpoint, which has been on my list for a while. It's the docuseries about tennis. They do the golf one just dropped yesterday or Friday, full swing, season 2. So I'll talk about that in a couple weeks. But they do golf, tennis, and F1 on Netflix, and I really like the way they do all of them. I honestly I like those sports. I like golf and tennis especially, but now I'm kind of liking F1 as well. In Breakpoint, it's been a fun ride. They kind of just go through the majors. They pick about 5 athletes that they're going to focus on and kind of make a dramatic story and up and down and kind of a tragic ending or a happy ending, or kind of just how the cookie crumbles and they spin it really nicely. But you get to see behind the scenes a lot. You get to see the drama. You get to see the business aspect, the marketing aspect, like everything, kind of how the sausage is made. And to be honest with you, this may be an unpopular opinion, but the older I get and the busier I get, I'm starting to prefer, like, I mean, this probably is a weird thing to say. I'm watching less and less sports the further I get along in life. Like, I mean, I'm just not watching week 7 football very much. You know what I mean? It's just not on very much. I'm not watching
How dare you?
A Wednesday night NBA game or
Oh,
a
that makes
middle
sense.
of or a middle of June baseball game. And or anything. I'm watching opening day, opening week. Season's finally back. That's exciting. Maybe that'll last for a week or two. I'm going to watch the playoffs of every sport. I'm going to watch the big games. I'm going to watch my favorite team's rivalry game. I'm going to watch like the all-star games and stuff here and there. And every now and then something might make it as background noise. And then there's a few sports. I mean, like Carolina basketball, I try to follow a little closer, but go Heels. They won last night against Duke. But I'm just watching less and less, like just mundane, everyday stuff, and I'm starting to enjoy absorbing sports in this kind of way, in this fun, dramatic. I know that it takes a lot of the most special thing of sports away, which is the live aspect, which is the
Well, the
the
cool thing
point of
about sports is that it's real life drama, right? And we're
right.
seeing it unfold. It's the authenticity of it. I mean, I kind of agree with you. I'm still a huge NFL fan.
Mhm.
Um, I watch college football periodically, college basketball, of course. But honestly, when it comes to like stuff like NBA, baseball, a
Mhm.
hot take, I think the seasons are way too long, and they need to shorten those up like dramatically if they want those sports to stay relevant. Not saying that they're irrelevant; they're not. They're still very, very popular. But when you look at the popularity of the NFL compared to the NBA, compared to baseball, it's not what it used to be. They need to shorten up those seasons and make it more dramatic.
Yeah, golf especially because everyone. I mean, golf is unquestionably boring. I mean, everyone knows golf is boring, and I mean, I like it, but the normal public's not going to like it. I mean, you gotta. But I also play regularly. I mean, I they need to shorten up the seasons. I agree with you. I agree. They need to make a lot of changes. I mean, I think basketball is doing okay. Maybe they need to shorten that season a little bit too. But I think it's kind of heading in the right direction in sort of terms of popularity. But baseball's dying. Baseball's, if it's not dead. No one who didn't play baseball who's under the age of 40 watches it that I know.
Yeah, because the seasons are really, really long. They last
Yeah.
from what like
Well, it's
March?
162 games,
Yeah,
and and it's it's
it,
it's
fe-
it's good.
it feels like yeah, 162 games. That's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot of games.
Yeah, and also the sport in general is pretty slow. But anyway, these docu series are a fun, interesting way to like kind of get the whole season summed up into a little mini series. You know what I mean? And it's kind of a
Mhm.
fun, interesting way to like take in the cultural topics, the talking points. Who won the big stuff, who got better this year, who are we looking out for next year. It just kind of sums up like the cultural conversation into a little series that's given to you in this digestible and fun way. So I like them a lot. I really enjoy them, especially sports like F1, golf, tennis that you're not going to watch. I mean, NFL, I understand there's huge fans out there that watch it every single week, but I mean, very few people are going to watch like golf or tennis every weekend. And F1, it's
Yeah.
just kind of a catch it when you can, watch the big stuff if you're into it. And
The
this
audience is more
really kind of
niche.
tells the story. Yeah, and I just think it's been a lot of fun to watch it. So I appreciate them making these series, and I hope they keep doing it.
Nice, nice. Maybe I'll check those out someday. Um,
That's all I watched besides this week's Bad Batch.
yeah, I had a lot. that I was planning on watching this weekend. I was going to go see Imaginary. I was not going to go see Kung Fu Panda. Kung Fu Panda. I was not going to go see that. Because I've seen the first one, I hadn't seen the other ones, but I was gonna watch that. I was gonna watch uh, Damsel. I was gonna watch Spaceman. I was gonna try and watch Anyone But You because that's on streaming now, and I didn't get a chance to catch it in theaters because I wanted to watch it with my wife because those are the kind of movies we like to watch together. And because of my eye, I couldn't really look at a screen for longer than like 10 minutes at a time. So I was like, okay, well, I can't really watch anything. But luckily, I was able to watch The Bad Batch before the incident. So you also watched it. What'd you think of it?
It felt like it's holding a similar quality throughout the season. Um I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I still feel similarly. I mean, it's still it's not. I'm not stoked to watch it every week, and I'm not jazzed up every time it's time to watch the Bad Batch. But I'm not miserable watching it. I enjoy it, and and every week they start. It's well done. It's just it's hard to. I'm just not
If you're not
captivated.
invested, then you're not. Yeah, if you're not invested, then you're not invested. I think out of all the episodes, this one's probably my least favorite, but still pretty good. Like it's still
Mhm.
pretty good. I like what they're doing with the redemption arc.
With Hawkeye,
With
or wait, no, Hawkeye, I keep calling him Crosshair.
yeah, with crosshairs.
Yeah.
I really like what they're doing because Star Wars usually and this Star Wars is a story of redemption. I know a lot of people get annoyed as hell when there's a Star Wars character who's redeemed, but like that's one of the main pillars, one of the main themes of Star Wars is listen, it is you can never it's never too late to turn back.
Mhm.
It's never too late to atone. It's never too late to say sorry. And I think sometimes as a society as we get older, we tend to not even if we know that we're doing wrong, sometimes we want to kind of double down because we feel like it's too late. Well, you know what? It's never too late to admit that you're wrong. It's never too late to say you're sorry. It's never too late to atone. That's one of the main pillars and themes of Star Wars. So I always enjoy that when they do that. And this is unlike what Star Wars has done in the past, where characters usually do one final good act and then they die. Um, this is different. They are taking him on a complete arc where, yeah, he did some bad stuff, but now he's having to atone for those sins and having to earn back the trust of the group. I really, really like what they're doing with that, and that's kind of what this episode was really about: it's earning back that trust and getting back in with the boys. You know,
Yeah, I
and
do like the way they handled Crosshair. I mean, I think he's pretty gray, which is translating pretty well into storytelling, like in
yeah,
terms of because I mean they've given him a couple chances to redeem in the past, and he's chosen a path. And they're like a lot of the
yeah,
times, like they try to deepen the characters by giving them like a fork in the road and something like pushes them down the wrong way, and it's relatable and it's understandable. But I did like I think I said this last week. I do like how I mean Crosshair had the opportunity to he chose the path he's on for whatever reason, making his own path. He's admittedly different than those guys, and I don't know. It's making the redemption a little sweeter, I think, or a little more worthwhile.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. I'm liking where this season is going. I like this episode. It's still pushing the story along forward. It doesn't feel like you know, like it's an adventure of the week kind of episode. Even though I like those episodes because I think it deepens your understanding of the characters and the relationships. So when you do have those important episodes, it means much more. I think I said something similar last week. But yeah, let us know in the comment section down below, guys. What is your thoughts on the Bad Batch? Is it something that you're watching? Is it something that you're kind of just skipping over, reading up on? Or are you just catching up on it through uh, Star Wars Star Wars news or met with was it Star Wars Explained? There we go with
Oh yeah,
m-
Molly and Alex.
yeah, Molly and Alex Damon. Love that show, man. Those guys are awesome. They are
Yeah, I haven't
incredible at
listened
what
to
they
them in a
do.
while, but whenever like there's, I mean, I don't do it as much. I'll probably do it at the end of the season just to get a whole. But a lot of the times I'll get in the hook where I'll watch every single episode and go follow up with them afterwards just to deepen it. I've been skipping. I skipped the last. On May 4th every year he does like the complete canon, like the full
Yeah, I
Star
love
Wars
that.
canon up to date. I love it too. I skipped it
So
last year
much
because
work.
I was reading some books and I was like, I don't want the books to be
Hmm.
spoiled, so I'm going to skip it. And now I've given up, and I don't think I'm going to read the books anymore. It's too many books. Um, I did read. I
He does
read
it
like
so we don't have to,
yeah. I just listened to the story, but I
or
did
they
get
do it
into the books.
rather.
It's just so time consuming to read when you watch a lot of TV.
It's it's a like I said, and I keep saying it's a big commitment for me. If I'm going to sit there and read the book, I have to be really invested, or I have to really want to know the story. Oftentimes, I'm lazy, and I will let Molly and Alex Damon do it for me, and then I'll watch their videos
Yeah.
to kind of keep up, so I know what's going on. Huge fan of those guys, so always like shouting out YouTube channels and stuff that I like, and those guys are they're legit. They're awesome. Love what they do. But listen, we haven't done a ranking in quite some. Well, I shouldn't say we haven't done a ranking in quite some time. About what, a month ago or a little over, we did our top 10 movies of 2023.
Yeah, yeah.
But and I thought we discussed it. I thought it'd be a little bit more fun since it's a slow movie week for us to kind of sit here since it's the Oscars today, the day that we're recording it. Instead of ranking the best picture nominees of this year, we thought it'd be fun to go back and rank the top 10 movies to win best picture like ever
Mhm.
since the Oscars. And we will have our own individual list that we'll name off. And it's a much deeper pull because I feel like if we were to rank this year's, it'll be pretty chalk. But if we go back and we go through the history of films that have won Best Picture and rank those, it'll be interesting to see what you and I come up with and what we choose. Um, Oscars are interesting because it's a bit ridiculous to give something subjective an objective award, like you are the best, and it's a bit silly, but at the same time, for me, and I think I've said this a few times on a couple episodes, I love the Oscars because of what they represent in terms of them being a celebration of film and the art form of film. Um, and it's always interesting to go back years prior and see what won Best Picture and what else was nominated. And, sometimes it's like doing our own top 10 list. It's kind of like a time capsule of this is how we felt in the moment um, when this won. And it's interesting to go back and look at it through that prism instead of this was the objective best movie of the year. It's this is how we felt in the moment. Um, and it's always interesting to go back and look at it that way. Um, Walker, what do the Oscars mean to you in terms of that?
Oh gosh. I mean they're. I mean, I think it's prestige. I'm a fan of prestige. I'm a fan of tradition. I'm a fan of like classic events like this.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of taking it seriously. I do wish it was a little more. So I mean, I respect it and I appreciate it, and I want to watch it, and I want to be inspired to watch certain things. Whatever.
Yeah.
I do like that aspect of it. I wish it was a little more. And I do think they've gotten better in the last few years in terms of accessibility to everyone. And what I mean by accessibility is just, I mean, so often. I'm not talking to you, but if I'm talking to, I mean, if I go around to my 10 closest friends and family, whatever, and I'm like, what did you think of this year's Best Pictures winners? So often in the last 10 years, we're going to go through the 5 or 10 movies, whatever they are, the Best Picture nominees. And I mean, my guess is very few people are going to have seen more than 2 or 3 of them and even heard of more than like 4 of them
Yeah.
out of the people. I mean, like, it's just no one here's what things. And in the last couple of years, and I understand, like, I mean, there's a lot that goes into this conversation. I mean, it and I can see both sides of the coin. I mean, I think sometimes certain movies sell, certain movies make money. It's a business. That's why they're in it. And those movies that sell and make money are great movies. But a lot of hands in the cookie jar. Studios have a lot of pull and a lot of say so and a lot of creative control and short leashes that they give filmmakers sometimes in these big blockbuster and big well funded movies. And when you a lot of the times in the Oscars categories, um, they may not be these big budget things. I mean, you obviously see a lot of indie stuff go to movies, but and part of it, I think, is the reason it gets nominated is because the filmmakers who are nominated aren't often handcuffed as shortly. Like, they have a lot more creative freedom and can make something unique and give us something interesting and new that would have been a big risk from a studio's perspective in terms of money. So they're not heavily marketed. They're not heavily widespread just because of the cost that goes into it a lot of times. So I think that that's worth recognizing. But at the same time, I do think it's prestigious, but I think it can cross over into the pretentious category to where, you know, Top Gun Maverick, that's not an Oscar, like, I think they've done better on that in the
Yeah.
last couple of years, and
I think
recognize that
expanding to 10
yeah,
has
it's a big move.
been incredibly helpful and important. I know there's a a a little groundswell of people saying, "Oh, it should move back to 5 nominees or 6 nominees," whatever it was. And to me, it's like, no, you keep that 10. Like,
Yeah,
keep
I
it
agree.
10.
Yeah, I
It's
think recognition. It's not too many. I mean, it's
yeah.
fine. That's good.
It'd be different if it were 20 or
Yeah,
15. It's like,
yeah.
but 10 is a perfect number. Keep it at that. I think that's perfect. I think, Oscars shouldn't mean anything to people like me and you, like, other than it just being a wonderful celebration of film. But to the people within the industry, it is the end all be all. That's who it's for, because you're being recognized as your peer as being the best of for that year, right? And that should mean everything to everyone there. But to people like us or to film critics or, you know, whatever, it shouldn't really mean much,
Yeah.
you know?
No, I
It
just
shouldn't.
respect it and appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But let's go ahead and give our top 10 movies here, Walker. Do we kind of want to do a similar structure? I don't know, we haven't really talked about it, but do we want to do a similar structure to how we did our top 10 movies of 2023?
Just back and forth one at a time,
Yeah, back and forth one
and
at a
and
time.
punt if we want to go up to the top five. Is that what you want to do?
Punt if it's in our top 5.
Yeah, you want to do that
Yeah.
or?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, all right. You want me to go first? You want to go first?
Let's flip a coin. I have a
All right.
coin here. Heads or tails?
Oh, heads.
Up, you're first.
All right. Uh, This is all obviously very subjective. This could change week to
Very.
week. It could change.
Yeah.
I just kind of threw some stuff together here, but and I'll probably throw a couple caveats in it. My number 10 movie, I'm gonna say No Country for Old Men.
Nice.
Um, this I remember watching this in my garage on Chelsea,
Oh yeah.
um, and
Very familiar with that place.
and Javier Bardem, Josh Brolin. I mean the Cohen brother. I mean it's a fantastic film. There's so many like little nods. I was listening to a Josh Brolin interview the other day about him like falling off a motorcycle and hurting his shoulder or collarbone and couldn't support the gun. And it was like a choice for the character and for the actor for him to take the boot off to like rest the gun on it when
Yeah.
he's sniping or whatever. Love little stuff like that. Love little interesting character because the character gets shot on the same side as Brolin's injury too, so it ends up like working out pretty well for him. Javier Bardem is one of the best villains out there in a film. Very chilling and uncomfortable. Yeah. It's just a really great movie, and it's. I watched it about 2 years ago again. I'm probably gonna say 10 times during this thing, maybe 20 times, depending on what your picks are. Oh yeah, I need to rewatch that. I just say that over and over. But No Country for Old Men. What was that? 2008. Is that right?
It was 2007. It won Best Picture in 2008, so it won Best Picture for 2007. It went up against There Will Be Blood. I remember that being like a big battle. I think over time I prefer There Will Be Blood just by a little bit because that performance, man. I am a sinner. I have sinned. Yeah, so
I drink your milkshake.
Yeah, I drink it up.
That's my introduction to Paul Dano too.
Yeah, well, my introduction to him was Girl Next Door.
Oh,
yeah, great movie. My number 10 is Schindler's List. Is that on yours?
No.
Okay, so this is a movie I've only, I think, watched twice. I watched it once, and then I had to watch it in school. And I don't enjoy watching this movie. It's one of those movies where I use it as an example often, where it's like you watch this movie once, you don't ever want to watch it again. You acknowledge its greatness, but you don't want to ever watch it again. And it's because movies like that leave such a profound effect on you, right? And Schindler's List left a profound effect on me. It is an incredibly heartbreaking movie, and it is insanely tough to watch. But what Steven Spielberg was able to do with this film it's uncanny. And the same thing, I mean, the fact that he did this in Jurassic Park same year. I mean,
it's unbelievable.
What other filmmaker could do that? I don't know. I don't know. But Schindler's List is an incredible film. It's not one I pop on all the time. It's like, oh, it's Saturday afternoon. Let's watch Schindler's List. It's not one of those. It's like, I've seen it once. I probably won't watch it again, but it's because it left such a profound effect on me. So Schindler's List at number 10 for me.
I agree. I've watched it. I've seen it once or twice. I've seen it twice. I saw it in school, and I've seen it in the last 5 years. And it was kind of, at most, I'm going to watch it every 10 years or so to like remind myself about the movie or like refresh, like so I could speak intelligently about it. Maybe, you know what I mean? That would be the extent of me rewatching it. Other than that, it wouldn't be. It's not. It's there's other movies that may be on your list that were Best Picture winners that I feel somewhat similarly about.
Okay.
And even on the topic of World War II and Holocaust, I've still not seen Zone of Interest, the nominated film.
So I saw it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. It's a tough watch. It's tough because it makes you feel uncomfortable. I don't necessarily love it as much as a lot of people do. because once you get past like the first 30 minutes, you kind of know what you're in for. Um, but it's a haunting film for sure.
All right, my number 9 movie, I'm gonna take Birdman. And I can't remember the long version of the title.
Yeah.
Birdman and like the unfortunate events of Lemony Snicket's or something. I don't remember exactly what it is, but I've said this last week. I'm a sucker for a long take. I think it's I always am shocked at how cool they are when they're filmed, and how captivated I am in it, and how the edge of my seat. 1917. I think I like that more than everybody else in the world. I was so into 1917 watching it, and Birdman had a similar feel to it. I also love like kind of the meta actor Edward Norton, um, kind of portrayal, and I love like almost like the wink wink sort of feeling to how much of a pain in the ass he probably is to deal with on set in real life.
Yeah, you
And
hear those stories.
yeah, and I also I tend to enjoy things about stage plays. There or Broadway type settings. I think I like the vibe there, and a long take really works well because of like the on stage, off stage, backstage, through the halls, up the stairs. It just kind of works, especially in a high hustle and bustle um, type of atmosphere or whatever. But Alejandro Inarritu did a very good job. So did Michael Keaton. So did Edward Norton. So did Emma Stone.
Yeah, it's a really awesome movie. Jake Gyllenhaal should have been nominated that year and won for Nightcrawler, but if not him, Michael
Yeah.
Keaton should have won the Oscar for that. But he ended up not winning. Eddie Redmayne won for The Theory of Everything.
Yeah, and this was a 2014 movie, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Oscars in 2015. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep, that was also not on my list. But for me at number 9, Forrest Gump. Is that on your list?
No. Nope.
Okay. So
got some variety.
This is a movie that I saw. I think I saw it in the summer of '99. I watched it at my aunt's house with my dad. And I remember sitting down watching it, and a lot of the stuff went over my head as a kid when you watch it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, I've gone back to watch it, and I went through a phase where I was like, "Oh my god, I really don't like this movie." The Jenny character, I don't like her at all. But the older I've gotten, the more I've popped it on and rewatched it and gone, no, the Jenny character is actually a really good character. And the performance from Tom Hanks is great. The story is great. It is sappy, it is emotional, and it works every single time. The graveside scene gets me every time, man. It is heartbreaking. I really like this movie a lot. And that's why it's on here. I love it. And when you look at 1994, the movies that it beat out for Best Picture, I think that's why people get up in arms when they think about Forrest Gump. But it's still a great movie, I think, and very
Right.
still has a hold on pop culture still.
Yeah. 94 also. I consider 94. One day we should do a movie year draft, like best years in cinema. I think of 99 very often, but 94 is one of them too. There's some stat out there of like at
Yeah.
one point in the movie theater what was playing, and it's unbelievable. It's like Forrest Gump, Pulp Fiction, Shawshank Redemption. Like I mean, it's in the theaters in one weekend is bananas.
Lion King. Yeah. True Lies. A lot of great movies in 1994. Three Weddings and a Funeral, or Four Weddings and a Funeral. Yeah. A lot of good stuff to choose from. Forrest Gump is I think one of the best.
Um, Uh, my number 8 pick, my number 8 ranking. I'm gonna go Ben Hur classic. From
Oh, nice, nice.
1959. I think Ben Hur. I mean, I know. I mean, I don't want to sound cheesy or pretentious or you're not taking classics. I mean, Ben Hur really is a marvel. I mean, it's unbelievable that in 1959 this movie was made. I mean, the chariot sequence and scene. I mean, somebody died during it shooting it, didn't
Yeah,
they? It's
yeah.
extremely intense, and I'm not trying to make light of that and act like that's cool or anything, but I'm just saying how big of a deal this chariot sequence was. It would have held up today. It does hold up today. I mean, it's
It does. Yeah.
shockingly. Um, I don't really know the details on the budget and stuff like that, but it's unbelievable how much effort and work and spectacle went into a movie that old. I cannot imagine seeing it for the first time in 1959. And like I've seen a bunch of movies from the 50s, and I like a bunch of movies from the 50s. You know, a lot of 12 Angry Men, a lot of Hitchcock stuff. Um, I mean, the 50s has a handful of all time films. Uh, but Ben Hur, I mean, I imagine that was a bigger deal than Dune was. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
mean, it was just mind blowing. Like, I mean, I can't imagine it. I mean, I wonder if it was on IMAX. I don't know.
I got it one year for Easter, my Easter
Yeah,
basket,
yeah.
and I used to watch it pretty frequently, especially the chariot sequence.
Didn't you try to remake it?
They did remake it. It's not very good.
Yeah, but not.
It's not very
Um,
good.
but it's interesting. The whole movie's good, and every chariot sequence is obviously what I think of first. But I mean, the whole movie. I mean, think of him on like the slave ship, and
Yep. The Rowan.
the scene where he just runs into Jesus. He's like, oh, there's Jesus.
Yeah.
It's like, um,
It's a
good
biblical
movie.
epic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sticking with not biblical epics, but sticking with epics for me at number 8, I have Braveheart.
Nice.
Um, listen, taking away controversial figures, Mel Gibson, he's a controversial figure to some. Just talk about him as a filmmaker, as an actor. Um, Incredible performance, but even better job behind the camera. The battle sequences in this movie is just outstanding. Um, this movie, I can't tell you how many times, especially after it came out, how many times it was parodied. With the blue face paint and the all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Like, yeah, this is a great movie. Whenever I think of it, I think of that freedom sequence when he's being
Oh yeah.
tortured and his last words are freedom. Like, I get chills whenever I think about it. Like, it's just incredible movie from a controversial figure, but doesn't take away from the fact that this is one of those movies that I rewatched often, especially when I was sick. This was one of those movies that I would watch when I was sick. Like something else on this list that we'll get to eventually. But that is my number 8 pick is Braveheart.
Very good. Very good. He's a kind of. I think William Wallace is kind of a collective of a couple different characters, like historical
Yeah,
figures. I think it's
it's
a
he's
combo.
not very historically accurate.
Yeah, but
The
I think it's, or maybe I'm thinking of Patriot. I don't know. I get them. I'm related to somebody in one of that Mel Gibson plays, or someone that Mel Gibson kind of plays deep down the line somewhere. All right, so my number 7 pick. I'm going to take The Sting, another classic, 1973. Robert Redford, Paul Newman. I love this movie. I saw this at a weird time where I was squeezing in a bunch of classic movies that um, I had never seen at that point. I do prefer this to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I think it's got all kinds of twists and turns. It's a pretty I don't know. Maybe I'm being disrespectful. I don't know. It just always surprises me when movies from I'm just arrogant, I guess. Before I was like alive or something, and I see movies that like shock me with their twists and turns and plot and screenplays, it's always like, oh, that really pulled a punch. It's like, well, you could still write back then. I don't know. It always surprises me, and I think it's a fantastic movie. More people should see it. Also, Paul Newman, Robert Redford.
Great. I mean, Paul Newman, Robert Redford. Like, yeah. My number 7 is Silence of the Lambs. So, is this on your list or no?
No.
All right, so Silence of the Lambs is, to me, it's a genre, one of the first genre films to ever win Best Picture. I think it's like people consider it the only horror film to win a Best Picture. I don't think this is a horror movie. I think it's more thriller.
Right.
But this is one of those movies that did like the clean sweep. It won, I think, screenplay, actor, actress, director, picture. I think,
Mm-hmm.
for 1991, and it is an incredible film. It's an incredible film. It still is one of those chilling movies. I mean, Buffalo Bill, insane villain, and of course Hannibal Lecter, one of the most iconic performances ever from Anthony Hopkins, and same thing with Jodie Foster. It's I saw this movie way too young. This is one of those films that my dad was watching it and he invited me downstairs, like, Ben, want to come watch a movie with me? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I came downstairs, watched it with him. He's like, this is Silence of the Lambs. And I was like, okay, cool. And then my mom walked in. She's like, Greg, why are you having him watch this movie? This movie's way too, no, sir. He's like, all right, go on back up to bed, Ben. I'm sorry. And then my mom left town and then to do something. And then my dad goes upstairs. Me and my brother are just chilling. He's like, hey, guys, guess what I got? I got because it was the TV version that was too intense for me. My dad borrowed the VHS from my grandma and said, look, I got the uncut version. We can go downstairs and watch it right now. And I was like, heck yeah. He's like, all right, let's order some pizza and watch it. So that's what we did. And it's one of my favorite movie experiences, just chowing down on pizza, watching Buffalo Bill do some crazy stuff, and then watching the movie itself. It's just, especially watching it now. I watched it, I think, during COVID with Carly. Carly had never seen it, and how chilling it was. It affected me more when I was older versus when I was younger. But yeah, this is a great movie.
It is a great movie. Classic. I mean, I should see it again. It's almost surprising that they. I mean, I don't want to. It surprises me that they made the sequel and they continued in the universe with like Hannibal, and it kind of really surprised me that Anthony Hopkins came back for two of them. I don't know why it
Yeah, because you
surprises me so
had
much.
Hannibal and Red Dragon. I haven't seen Hannibal in forever.
Yeah, me either.
And the only thing I remember about Red Dragon is the Philip Seymour Hoffman getting his tongue bitten out, with Ray Fiennes,
Yeah, I don't remember really either of them, but
and how it's supposed to be like a prequel to Silence of the Lambs.
do I?
Red Dragon. It's supposed to be like a prequel.
Right. My number 6 pick, Titanic. I assume that's on your list.
Yeah, that's a punt.
All right.
My number 6 is The Godfather Part 2.
I have The Godfather Part 1.
Is that on your list? Okay. So we have both the Godfathers represented. Godfather Part 2, I put above Godfather Part 1. Because Godfather was going to be on my list, but I kind of forced myself to choose between the two, and I decided to put Part 2 because I prefer it just a hair over the first one.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an incredible sequel. I think it's just an incredible sequel while also being a prequel at the same time. yeah, one of the greatest movies ever made. I don't
Yeah, it
think I
speaks for
can add
itself.
any more to the discussion of The Godfather Part Two. Yeah.
It's one of the best movies ever made. It's also very original how they told the story with the sequel prequel aspect. It's got some of the best performances
Hmm.
ever. It's phenomenal. And
Hmm.
really, I mean, I can go ahead. I mean, Godfather Part One. I mean, I was the same way. I mean, they're both on the list here. They're both they're
Yeah.
both on my list, but I just didn't want to take two of them, so I picked one, and I picked one. I'm glad we each got one. Godfather Part One, I think is amazing. It ended up being number 4 on my list. I think it's a
Okay.
phenomenal movie. I really just love the iconic ending with the with the doors in the office shutting. That
It's
scene,
one of the
love.
best. Yeah.
Sorry, good. Now, oh,
And
it's my turn. Oh.
yeah, it's your turn.
Um, Number 5. I'm gonna take Parasite. Um, I think you have Parasite or no?
No.
I think Parasite's such an original movie. I think not. I mean, I know it got recognized recently, and people in the film space love it, but a lot of people I know haven't seen it. Probably just scared of subtitles. It's such a cool story. It's interesting, original. I saw a screen grab from it recently, and it just made me want to go watch it again. Um, it's it's awesome. It's one of the recent all timers for me.
Yeah. I love the first two acts of it. The third act kind of falls apart for me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I do not love the third act, but
Yeah.
I still enjoy the movie a good deal, and it's always nice when you see a movie that is as celebrated as much as that one actually win Best Picture, and everyone collectively goes, "Yes, okay, nice," instead of having like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that won,"
Yeah. Yeah.
and then the audience is split. Um, but moving into my top five here, I have The Departed.
Yeah. That's let's go ahead. I mean, we can uh it's my number 3 pick.
Okay,
Um
okay.
should we talk about it now or should we talk about it when we get to mine?
Uh, we'll hold off.
Yeah,
We'll
let's
hold
hold
off.
on.
Well,
We can move quickly
yeah,
here. Look, you got Departed. I got The Godfather number 4. We just spoke about it a little bit. I mean,
yeah.
it speaks for itself. It's classic. I love that end scene. Al Pacino, Marlon Brando, two of the most iconic performances ever. Um, Very quotable, endless lines that are infamous. Um, and that's my number 4 pick. And then we can go into your number 4 pick, right? And then we'll be on Departed
Yeah,
next.
yeah, yeah. My number four pick is Gladiator. This is the other movie that I was talking about. I watch all the time when I'm sick. I used to always do a double feat or a triple feature of The Patriot, Braveheart, Gladiator.
It's violence.
Um, a lot of violence, yeah, a lot of violence, a lot of historical epics. This movie, oh my god, it's just timeless and so quotable and so epic, and the Hans Zimmer score. It's just the Russell Crowe performance is just absurdly good. The direction is incredible. It's just a wonderful film, absolutely wonderful film that to this day I still rewatch pretty often. He was a soldier of Rome. Honor him.
Um, Gladiator is awesome. Great movie, great performances. I've just realized I've screwed up. I just realized I only have 9. I was like, wait a minute, Good Departed's number 2, and now I'm trying. So I was trying to just willy nilly just throw one in there for. I'm gonna try to pick one that I missed. Um, this is how the sausage is made. Um, Trying to think what was one that I just missed my cut.
Well,
Um,
The Departed was your number three, right?
it's my number 2. I thought it was my number 3,
Okay,
but it
okay.
it, 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 it messed up. So I'm just gonna add one in for. I'm gonna add one as my number 10 real quick if that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine.
Uh,
That's fine.
um,
We're doing it live, guys. We're not cutting this out.
yeah, it's part of the game. I'm gonna take ah, uh I'm gonna go Slumdog Millionaire. You know, Slumdog Millionaire was a fun movie to watch. I really love the. It was such a creative
So you're
plot
putting that
device.
at 3?
I'm putting it at 10.
At 10, okay.
Um, Everything else bump up a notch.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
and so Godfather Part One was number 3 for me. Um, Sorry about that, but yeah, Slumdog Millionaire. I think the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire device to tell the story in flashbacks was really creative, really interesting. Um, this was one that like felt popular. I don't know. I mean, this came out when I was 17 or 18. What was it? 2008? Is that right? Yeah, it came out in 2008, one in
Yeah.
2009. Which was my like like when I graduated high school. Um, and I remember like sitting in the garage watching it, and it just seems like such a random movie. I mean, like it wouldn't expect, I guess No Country for Old Men did the same thing. It was around that same time. Um, Wanted to watch both these movies. It was awesome,
I just
original,
remember
great performances.
I remember the song.
Oh yeah.
Jeho. Yeah.
Sorry for throwing us off here, but I'm gonna add that into my number 10. I
No,
think
you're
it's a good
good.
movie. Recognize a lot of things could have slid into that slot, but that's what I'm gonna pick.
And we'll save The Departed for number 2, so I'll go ahead and say what my number 3 is.
Yeah.
All right. Number 3 is Rocky. So, you know, people often talk about this as being one of the greatest sports films, if not the best sports film ever made. And I would, you know, I don't agree, but it is in my it's not my favorite sports film ever made, but it is so influential on so many sports movies after the fact that you see its impact on the sports movie genre. But really, this movie's a romance
Hmm.
in disguise as a sports film, and that romance is tremendous. It's an incredible romantic movie. Um, and that's the heart and soul of the movie. Like the whole Colin Adrian not even wanting to interview after the fight, and you get the hug. And it's not about the winning. It's about going the distance. And I like that. That's a twist on it not being about winning. It's about proving that you can stand toe to toe with the greatest and
Yeah, so
still
it's an amazing
make a
feat.
name.
They I mean they
Yeah.
I'm sure when it came out to, in the 70s that it was shocking. I mean, like it's just an unusual way to tell a story. He loses and it's still such a happy end. I mean, like it was advanced screenwriting.
Yep. All right, number 2,
Number 2,
Departed.
The Departed. Martin Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio, Mark Wahlberg, Matt Damon, Jack Nicholson, uh,
Alec
Alec
Baldwin.
Baldwin, Martin Sheen. I mean, it's got a stellar cast. They all come to play. It's so buttoned up. I mean, the pacing on it's great. The movie's long. It's in the high twos, I think, and I mean, it doesn't feel that way to me. It feels
Mm-mm.
like a ride the entire time. Um, it feels very Scorsese esque in that way, where it feels buttoned up at the end, and they take a whole third act to kind of really tie things together. A
Yeah,
lot
and
going
the
on
thing
at
is about
once.
this a thing about this movie is people don't realize it's a remake of Infernal Affairs,
Right.
and it's an incredible remake, but it's also one of those shocking movies that you talk about how it flows, but also the ending and how it ties up and how certain characters meet their demise. And I still remember being in the theater and being completely blown away at what happens at the ending of this movie, even before the ending, with character deaths and the like. This was one of those films that came out. I was 12. I remember going to the theater with my dad and brother to go see it. And then I got it for my 13th birthday. My grandma got it for me. It was around Oscar time. And it was one of those movies that it shocked me when I first saw it. I didn't really know how I felt about it. But then I got it, and I rewatched again and again and again and again and again and again in preparation for the Oscars. And I just remember going, man, this movie's great. This is great. This is like one of the best movies I've ever seen. And I still think that. Like, this is an incredible movie, an incredible crime thriller. This movie is a lot like touching a raw nerve. And Leo's performance really echoes that sentiment in this film. Mark Wahlberg is iconic too. His performance got him an Oscar nomination. Just a movie packed full of great performances, and Matt Damon going against type, being a prick. Yeah, it's just yeah, great movie.
Yep.
So that was your number two.
That was my number two.
All right. My number two is Titanic.
Oh. That was also my, what was it? My 5.
Yeah. When you get up into this top 5, I've rewatched these a lot. Especially number 2. Titanic is just a staggering achievement in filmmaking, but also in just how it held such a grip on the pop culture when it came out. Like, this was the little movie that could. And people don't realize that. Like, when this movie came out, like, people thought it was going to be a bomb, and it just kept on and kept on and kept on and kept on and kept on. And the highest grossing weekend it had, I think, was the Valentine's Day of 1998. The movie came out in December of 97. Opposite a James Bond movie. Yeah, this movie is just incredible, and it was the highest grossing film of all time until James Cameron tops himself in 2009 with Avatar. And it's still, I think, number 3. You have Avatar, Endgame, Titanic, or Avatar, Endgame. I think it's The Way of Water, then Titanic, then The Force Awakens. So I think it's 4 now. I'll have to go back and double check, but yeah, this is just an incredible film, incredible achievement in filmmaking, and also just a timeless romance with incredible performances.
Great performances, unbelievable direction, attention to detail. It's just James Cameron at, like, his I can't say it's at his peak, because he's always at his peak. He's always at the top of his game. Grand shots, attention to detail, great performances, a love story, a tragic story. It's got it all. I mean, it's an all-timer. I mean, made huge box office success, and I mean, it may not be everyone's favorite movie, but I think everyone respects this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to, man. Like, listen, to quote South Park, James Cameron doesn't do what James Cameron does for James Cameron. James Cameron does what James Cameron does because he's James Cameron. I think that's the quote. James Cameron. Yeah, he's awesome. Love James Cameron here.
All right, so my number 1 favorite Best Picture winner in history. I think you're going to know what it's going to be. Can you guess?
I know what it is. It's Coda.
Yeah, Coda. So it I love this movie. I think it's beautiful. I think the performances are good. I think it's touching. I'm really glad it won. I'm happy for Apple TV that it won. I'm happy for the actual film that it won. I think it feels very relatable to me, very down, just raw and emotional. The entire third act, the entire last 35-40 minutes of the movie, I just sobbed the entire time, starting with the concert that goes silent. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful, and then followed up with the father, Troy. What's the Troy Kotzer? He holds her throat to feel her vocal cords while she's singing, and then them waking her up and telling her she has to audition, her auditioning, and and them sneaking upstairs and watching, and her singing the Joni Mitchell song and beginning to sign halfway through. The whole thing is so amazing. I mean, it's just a run of brilliance to me. And every single person I've recommended the movie to, anybody, my mother-in-law, my mom, my uh, some of my friends, Spencer, Tanner and Carrie, everybody I've like recommended the movie to watch that hadn't seen it, loved the movie.
Yeah, it's great.
Or it and it really, I mean, I bet it wouldn't be number one on a lot of people's list, but for me, it really speaks loudly. And then like Daniel Durant, the brother in the movie, he also
Mhm.
was on Dancing with the Stars like a couple years ago, in between 2022 maybe 2023, and and his dance partner and him began dating afterwards. But they, it was very difficult for him to do it being deaf, and um, they did a moment similar to the movie where they were trying to like let you in on what it's like to dance with no hearing or whatever.
Mhm.
So like while they're dancing to the song fades out and they just like continue keeping the beat in silence. And it's such a loud silence that like takes your heart from your chest. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, that just goes to show you having this at number one, like how subjective not only films are, but lists are too. Like these are my top 10 right now, top 10 movies to win Best Picture ever. But this could easily change outside of really my top two. Those are the only ones that are constant at number one and number two, and also what they mean to us emotionally. And I know you've said in the past that you really connect with Coda for personal reasons, and um, I think that's why I connect with my number one pick, Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. I think this is the greatest film to ever win Best Picture. I think it is the greatest achievement in filmmaking ever. Um, to do what Peter Jackson did, shooting all three movies back to back to back, and making each one so incredible, and taking this fantasy genre and doing it in such a serious and treating it seriously and getting people who are known as being snobbishly Hollywood to give this fantasy film a best picture win. And not only that, Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, I think with three other movies, um is tied for the most award wins in a year in history. I think 11 wins,
Hmm.
including Best Director and Best Picture. Lord of the Rings, to me, the series is one that, like I've said about a couple of these films, I rewatch over and over again. But really, these films I rewatch over and over and over again because they remind me of when I was younger and watching these with my brother, and something that him and I would really bond over, and getting our action figures and playing with them together, and and him and I really calling each other, Frodo and Sam, and I would always say he was my Sam and stuff like that. And that's why these movies, they mean so much to me. But this one in particular, this has, in my opinion, the greatest scene in film history. The "I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you" scene. And then you get the swell of the music coming in, and like what this movie represents to me is everything important in life: being loyal and being selfless in the face of really the end of the world. Um, this movie is just incredible. It represents everything to me that is great about movies, and that's why it's my number one. It is such a good movie, man.
I'm just gonna have to rewatch them all. I know we've been talking about it all week. I'm just gonna have to rewatch all Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's it is a joke. It's one of your only flaws. You don't like the this movie, but
It does
when
surprise me. It's so widely considered incredible. I mean,
yeah,
almost every list out there and every movie person out there says it's amazing. Um, I don't know what it is about it, man. I mean, and I've seen them twice. Well, maybe 1.5 times. I've seen them once for sure, like all the way through, and then I've seen them. I've tried to watch it maybe 2 other times and kind of fallen off. I'll have to give it another go.
Yeah, those are our top 10 lists. Probably because our lists are so different, probably shouldn't try to mold them together, should we?
I don't think it's gonna work. No, I
No.
think we The Departed, Titanic. Let's call The Godfather 1 and 2 in one movie. I think that's it.
Yeah, those are all, and well, again, it just goes to show the subjectivity of movies, and also just how many great movies have won Best Picture over the years. Um, and it's always fun to sit there. Maybe we'll make this a yearly thing, where
Yeah, but it'll
instead of
update
talking
every year.
about the Oscars, we'll go back and we'll sit and we'll look and re-rank the movies over the years.
Very cool. Looking at
Yeah,
the
man.
release schedule for next week, looks like Arthur the King comes out. That looks like the biggest movie.
Yeah,
Maybe
I think
the
next week's going to be a big catch-up week for me.
yeah. Well, we'll see what we get in. You got anything else for us?
That's it, man. Unless you want to like go over what our top 10 are in order.
Yeah, you want me to I can read mine off. You want to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Number 10, Slumdog Millionaire. Number 9, No Country for Old Men. Number 8, Birdman. Number 7, Ben Hur. Number 6, The Sting. In top 5, number 5, Titanic. Number 4, Parasite. Number 3, The Godfather, specifically Part 1. Number 2, The Departed. And number 1, Coda.
I have 10, Schindler's List, 9, Forrest Gump, 8, Braveheart, 7, Silence of the Lambs, 6, The Godfather Part 2, 5, The Departed, 4, Gladiator, 3, Rocky, 2, Titanic, and number 1, Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King.
A lot of 90s in there.
Yeah, great decade.
All right, well, if that's all we got, let us know below. What are your top 10? You got anything else to add?
Nah, man, I'm all tapped out.
Cool. Go get some rest on that eye. That does it for this week. Thank you all very much for listening. If you're hearing this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, thank you for also listening. If you're trying to watch us on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe for more movie talk each week. Let us know in the comments down below what are your favorite Best Picture winners. Who do you think is going to win tonight when we're recording? Obviously, when this launches, you'll know who's going to win. So don't just or tell us who did win. With that said, this has been Ben and Walker, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.